Well, a happy Sunday update. I got a little time to kill before the Celtics game tonight. My prediction, for what it's worth. I said early on in the playoffs, it's going to be the Celtics and Mavs in the final. Well, that happened. Celtics won game one, Thursday. Tonight's game two in Boston. I predict the Celtics will win tonight. They'll win game two. They're going to go back to Dallas. They're going to win one out of two games. They're going to come back to Boston up 3-1, and they'll wrap it up at home and do what they haven't been able to do the last few years when they made the playoffs, made the finals, and they went down to Golden State. Golden State won that one. So that's my prediction. Tonight, I got one Uncle Brian lift to lift. I'll enjoy that. Order Jimmy's Pizza. By the time Auntie Billy gets in from work, it'll be somewhere around the third quarter. Got to drop in on my Adi and my Benji. Went to see my two daughters stop by this afternoon. The rain finally stopped a little while ago. And this is what kind of led to something. I had already heard about this guy for a while. So anyways, somebody gave me a call. Hey, before I get into that though, a more important update. They called off the search for those 6 fishermen when their boat went down. Hundreds of square miles they covered with 3 Coast Guard helicopters, 4 Coast Guard search vessels, other commercial fishing vessels that joined in the search. It's like a band of brothers in the fishing fleet, They drop their nets and they go to the area and they help search. Well, this happened last night when the signal first appeared, and it was only a brief signal and then it stopped. A distress call from a beacon. They're having a hard time trying to figure out why that happened. It might have gone off when it was still, even though they're made to detach from the deck, it's somewhere on the wheelhouse on the outside. When a boat goes down, I don't know. I won't even say Velcro. I don't have a clue. It's some kind of mechanism that it detaches, and it floats on the surface and sends out a signal, a locator. But at times, the way the boat rolls, it can detach, it can get caught up in a net while it's still on the surface. Just before it's completely submerged, it detects water. It detects the motion of the boat. It's rolling, it's going down, sets off a signal, and then for whatever reason, it stopped. Could have got caught up in a net and it never really stayed on the surface. It went under, and that water is very deep out there. From what I understand, what I've been told, they can detect some of those beacons in water up to like 120 feet. That's when they go with those sonar buoys. They drag them along the bottom, like how Ballard, how they find, shipwrecks, and they can detect it, but only up to a certain water depth, and the water out there gets quite deep. Once you get off the shoals of Martha's Vineyard, the water gets deep. It can get 300, 400, 500 feet in some areas. So they're not going to be found. They called off the search. My heart goes out to every family member, every friend of those 6 men that went down on that boat. So now, hey, guess what? Good news. I have another groupie. Yeah, I have another loyal follower. I've already known about this guy. I remember a while back, he used to come and say real nice things to me in comments. Oh, what a real sweetheart. Oh, man, I'm telling you. The lovely things she said to me. I guess it made him feel good, Who am I to deprive some miserable fuck of their happiness? I can't do that to someone, Let them have their fun. So anyway, this is how it all came out. Somebody gave me a call a little while ago. Hey, what's up? How you doing? I said, no. Bad news, rained. We didn't get our running. Oh, that was another thing too. He says, yeah, He says, I see that guy pop up on Java. Hey, Java, you got a oil follower too. He runs and tells you everything that I do on a video. Hey, dude, I think it's fair. You know, people do the same thing. They come and tell me things. They watch it, I don't watch. You know? What goes around comes around. It's okay with me. You know? He says, and every time this guy shows up, I want a job. I said, what, he's back? He said, yeah, Java's back. I said, oh, really? What's up now? He says, I went off on another tangent about everything he's going to do to the Bel Air. He's going to go back to square one. He's going to try to get it started again. He thinks number 8 wire might be on the number 1 plug. Right from the get-go with that distributor, it's never been right. You know, something's way out of whack in there. Either that timing chain ain't on right, that distributor ain't on right. If timing chain's not right, that distributor will never be right. You know, he was saying, well, he's going to have to go back. He's going to get number 1 plug out. He says, Brian, you listen to him talk. The more he talks, the more stupid he sounds. I said, yeah, I know. A lot of people know that. You know, not telling me anything that myself and other people don't already know. Yeah, he said, well, you know, he's going to take the plug out again. He's going to stick a screwdriver in it. Now, whoa, you know. Yeah, we didn't insert objects in the number 1 plug to make sure that, you know, if you have a remote start and you're right there and you use it remote, we never jammed a screwdriver in there. Any hard metal object, in case something happens, that piston kicks up a little hard. I've heard of cases where things got jammed in there. You know, you could put a little nick in the piston, put a little scrape groove in the cylinder wall. But I mean, it's not a smart thing to do. I know guys that would use, you know, a pencil. It's a piece of wood. It'll break. It won't damage, you know, that metal, that steel is, you know, even forged aluminum pistons, you know, it's a lot harder than a thin wood and a little pencil. A lot of guys use plastic straws. Not everyone had a remote start. You got someone do it for you, you know. You run to the car quicker, and then you got to run over and go in there and see, you know, how far. In a case like that, if you have a remote start, you want somebody in that car that's clicking that key. Okay, a little more, stop. Okay, now you know where you are. You know what I mean? You don't jam metal screwdrivers in there, but that's what he says he's going to do. I started laughing. He says, and he's going to do door panels, he's going to do the interior, he's going to do the seats, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. He's got so much to do on it. He's going to do all new baseband gaskets again, and he's going to redo all the torque settings on the valves, on the rock. He says, Brian, it's one big clusterfuck. And he goes on and on and on. It almost sounds like the more he talks about all these things he doesn't know a fucking thing about, it's making him sound like he knows what he's doing. You know? I said, hey, that's Java. You know, he says, then here's where you come into it. He says, I see this guy pop up, and every time, pretty much, he just leaves a comment to talk about you. More about you than Java. I said, oh yeah, okay. I've heard that before. You know? Hey, how you doing there, Joe, man? He's another one, too. Channel, no content. You don't know who he is, what he looks like, where he is. Just my name. You know what I look like. You know where the fuck I live, New Bedford, Massachusetts, here on the Fort Taber Peninsula. It's a big deal. I'm not afraid of someone knocking on my door. Are you? I'm glad we don't have people like you defending this fucking country. So brave and courageous. He says, yeah. He says, then, Java said, well, he was thinking about going back out and work on it, but it might rain. He don't want to work in the rain. So that's when I got these coming off. Cabral thinks a bike, you won't ride in the rain. Damn right I'm not going to ride in pouring fucking rain. We don't. You ride in pouring fucking rain when you have to. We've ridden in fucking torrential downpours coming back from fucking New Hampshire. 1 year bike week in Laconia, which a lot of people cleared that place out quick. You know, when the rain was forecast, we were going to have, like, you know, 12 straight hours of fucking rain. And heavy rain, not a little drizzle. You know what happens on highways and roads when you get a heavy rain on asphalt? You know, all the oils from cars leaking and transmission fluids that get on the asphalt. You know what happens when it rains? When you get a real heavy rain where you start to get little layers from cars hydroplane. You know how oil floats on top of water? That's when it's most dangerous to ride. Because now besides hydroplaning, you're not even hydroplaning on water, you're hydroplaning on oil. and petroleum fluids. It's not a smart thing to do. You ride slower. You ride a lot more careful. We space out ourselves out more in a pack. You know? When we go for a ride, it's not, oh, I'm just going to go ride around the city. Why would anybody even want to do that? Hey, it's pouring like rain out. Pouring like a motherfucker. Yeah, I think I'll jump on my bike, go take a ride around the city, get all fucking soaking wet and come home and be all fucking drenched and after. Why? Nobody does that. You do it when you're someplace and you come out and you got to head home and it's pouring rain. Now you got to fucking ride in it. You do it when you have to, not because you just want to. You know? We enjoy the scenery. Getting out, enjoying it, you know, the good weather, sunshine in your face, the wind in your hair, not pouring rain in your fucking face and the raindrops are fucking blinding you and it's splattering up your fucking glasses. You can't see for shit on top of a dangerous fucking road. But this guy will say anything. That's how you are, right, Joe? Right? You know a lot about riding, right? Yeah. What club you belong to? Huh? Jump on your Vespas? Get together? Yeah. Go cruising the gay bars? See what I mean? This is how I used to respond to this guy in comments. But anyway, he says, yeah. And then he says, hey, Brian, check this out. And then he had to get into his whole life history. Oh, he's going back to work and this and that, blah, 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 whatever. He says, but this is the kicker. He's saying now that he's almost done working on a guy's car. Well, he's working on a guy's car. I thought his health was so bad he couldn't even work on his own Bel Air all this time, but now he's working on some other guy's car. Oh. Kind of like Sanford, deflection tactics. He says, but I'm kind of funny. Our job will make a video, you know, just wimping around and waddling around a Bel Air and leaning on it and cut a fart. Not even try to get it started because he knows it won't, so he doesn't want to embarrass himself even more. He'll do any video about anything, but this is something now. He said he's working on a guy's 911. I went, well, 911? Are you serious? He says, yeah, that's what he said. The only 911 I've ever heard of is a Porsche. Correct? Porsche 911. Carrera. Or there's another type of car called a 911, you tell me. Some guy's got a 911. And he has Jabba working on it for him. I guess this guy never seen any of Jabba's work. Unless this car's a piece of fucking junk too. Maybe it don't run either. And it's all banged up and rusted and rotted out. Those Porsches were known to rust out, especially the ones in the 70s, even to the early 80s. He's going to make it look like new. He's going to refresh all the paint. He's going to wet sand all the paint. Talking into what kind of grip. I'm going to use a 120, or maybe a 150. He says, Brian, he's talking. He's not even sure what he's saying. He keeps correcting himself and changing what he's saying. 120, 100, or maybe 150 grit. But he's saying, you can only wet sand it in one direction. You can't do it in another direction. I never wet sanded a car, so I won't say. Just then he's saying, then he has to get all the dirt off it. And then he's going to get a heavy rubbing compound, and he's going to compound it all out. No, I have cleaned up paint on cars. Most I ever used was a paint cleaner. Compounds. You ever feel a heavy roughing? It feels like it's got sand in it. There's a heavy grit to it. That's just shit you use on old cars that they have an old enamel paint on them. And the paint is so fucking faded and oxidized. But because that paint has a little more thickness to it than a lot of later paints when they came along, you know, with Imron and lacquers and this and that, and they got other paints I probably never even heard of these days. You know, you have a little more bite to it. You can take a little bit more off. And all you're doing is taking off the surface. And the paint that's under it is pretty much fresh. It hasn't been exposed to the elements, the oxidation, sunlight, you know, and you're basically, that's where all your nice, bright work paint comes back, you know. You're getting all that cloudy oxidized paint off the surface. Yeah, no, it looks great. That's what that's for. And even then, you got to be careful. You know, even with a cleaner. Hold on one second, Auntie. Hold on one second. Okay, listen, I'm going to pause this. Auntie Billy came in early. I got to find out what's going on. I'm going to pause this. I'll get back to you. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, she came in a little bit earlier. About an hour and a half earlier than expected. Little slower maternity. So they're like, you had 3 other nurses at the station. She said, decided to leave. So anyway, you know, I've used the, buff and wheel and pads, and you change those pads periodically. There's a certain amount of pressure you want to put, a certain amount of speed. You don't want to burn the paint. I've seen, even with a paint cleaner, even with a wax, buffing with a wax, that generates heat on that metal fender. Friction. Body lines, sharp cuts on body lines, fender. Side panels. Around trunk lids, lights. I've seen guys go too hard with that at such a high speed that they burn the paint right off it. They've taken it down to primer. They've taken it down to bare fucking metal. Jobber knows how to do that shit. Anyway, listen. I'm going to go hang out with my old lady here. I was going to be ordering a pizza in a little bit, see what she wants. I'll get it from Jimmy's, and we're going to watch some basketball together. See, that makes my Sunday even better.